Okay, so I just make sure that I've got myself a little bit of space there. And once this has been placed, you can go ahead and continue, and it indicates this little check mark for the users. So they know that they've placed that particular object, even for terminal blocks. And we all know that, terminal blocks can be a pain in the neck. So here, the system will automatically place all of the terminals at the same time. So you don't have to place, for example, each individual terminal. You can see there's also separating plates that have been defined here as well. Let's just grab a couple more here. We'll just grab, I think there's a couple of overloads, but you can see these overloads also have, these overloads have extra parts. So there's an auxiliary part that's been defined here as well. I'll just grab the overload and I'll bring the overload in, place all parts completely. It sees that there's an accessory. How do you want that accessory to be placed? Let's do it this way. I want to show you here real quick. I'm just going to place one of them. So when I place one, what you'll see is that on the device, is the accessory. Okay. And you can display, the users can display, we get questioned a lot about, displaying the device tag over it and all that. And that's fine. They want to see the device tag, but we can also adjust this. The display properties can be adjusted however they want. Right now, it really is not, does not matter on the 3D model. It matters on the documentation that we're going to produce after the model's been created. And I'll show you that here shortly. Now let's place one at a time. So here I'll place the first part number. Make sure that I'm giving myself the appropriate space because of the collisions. So this is on a grid at the moment, so we can certainly change the grid to be a little bit better for us as well. But now it shows in the green check mark that this part has been placed, but this one is not. We can also set a filter for unplaced parts. So that way we'll know if there are any parts that have not been placed in the panel yet. So here, if I grab this one and drag it over, I know that it is associated with this, and this is the point in which it's going to be placed. Now, because these are going to be placed right on top of each other, obviously collision becomes a little bit of a problem for us. So we can toggle collision check on and off. And here I just snap the object to the green placement object snap. And now that device has been placed, it's been placed in the same point. So they can place individually, or the system is smart enough for them to place the entire object together. We'll grab the disconnect, for example. There's probably some additional parts on the disconnect itself. So maybe we end up saying here, because there might be also a handle on the door. Depending on how this system was created, maybe we just drag this over. And the system is now reading the models, so it looks like there's a lot of models. And then you can decide where you want this, where you want this disconnect to go. Is it going to be freely mounted? In this particular case, I'm just going to pick a point here, just to show. And so this is freely mounted, but there might also be a drill pattern that might be associated with this object. With this object as well. Here, obviously, we don't need all of that to be placed at the moment. So I'm going to move that, just remove those for right now. But here, what we'll see is also drilling data. So the users can actually see all of the drill holes that are associated with the wire duct, the DIN rail, and any devices that are placed. If I rotate this around, you'll see the you'll see the drill holes on the other side of the cabinet as well. So now in this case, this is where that manufacturing of the panel comes in. The documentation for the manufacturing of this panel can come in for these users. So for example, exporting manufacturing data, they could export all the wire tags. They could also export all of the machining data to the Rittal machines. They could export to a drill pattern, which is just a drill template, which is just let's just say a PDF file that they want to generate and see all the drilling information. Wire fab, they can send directly to a WT machine. And then also for wiring purposes, an electrician that's on the floor, if they have a tablet or a PC monitor at their station, they can have access directly with SmartWire. So, for example, with SmartWire is a web app that they can pull up. For example, here they'll be able to log into their system, go into a project. So here, for example, if I open up a project that I have access to, and I just say I want this, I don't know, we'll say this this project right here. Okay, this is a single panel, has a number of parts in it, and I'm the electrician. I'm going to wire up this panel. So right now I'm going to have access to this project, and here you'll be able to see the model on the right-hand side. It's refreshing the model of the panel. On the left-hand side are all of the individual wires that are in this panel, and you can see them here inside the panel. If I want to filter, for example, I can set filters for a specific color. Maybe I just want the blue wires, and maybe I just want the I guess in this case all the blue wires are 18 gauge, so I don't need to filter off of that. But what if I had black and I wanted to filter off of either 12 or 16 gauge? So you can could filter off of all of those wires. Or maybe in this particular case, I filter off the black wires. I can see here all the black wires in the project. So as an electrician, I can start here. Here's my first wire. I can see that I have a total of 177. And this is the electrician seeing this on the screen. And if you take it another step further with an AR, with maybe some augmented reality type of environment, they could also visualize this. There's some companies that are out there utilizing these glasses in an augmented reality or AI environment that they can see the devices, they can see the wire, and they're basically just in space opposed to having a monitor right there. They're actually utilizing AR. So here you can see the to and from information of the wire. You can see the length of the wire. This length of the wire can be in inches. It can be in metric environments. It's completely up to you what value you want to have for your lengths. Here we can see where this wire is connected on this side, where this wire is connected over here. They can play it out and see how the wire is routed. They can see it both ways. And also the electrician has access to the prints. So if they need to go into the electrical schematics, they can go into the electrical schematics and see exactly the information that they need for this particular wire. So they have access electronically for all the documentation that they need in order to wire this panel. So what we've found is that a lot of electricians nowadays, there's let's say not a lot. Let's say that seems like there's a higher rate of turnover in this area. And so finding experienced electricians and is becoming more and more difficult. So utilizing tools like this for companies that are building panels can take advantage of technology like this and not have to necessarily have look for the high level electrician, it could be an entry level position, a junior level electrician that's, kind of learning, coming out of college. They would be able to utilize this software and not only be able to build the panel, but also build the panel with consistency. So if I have 10 of this same panel, then I know that this panel is going to be built exactly the same way as I'm going through and seeing exactly how the system, EPLAN, has decided what the route of the wire is going to be. The engineer can change the route if they want to. If this is not an optimal route for the engineer, but it was an optimal route the way that EPLAN reads it, then the engineer can also change the route to go in a different direction. And when the electrician is done with this wire after landing it, they just click here and they move on to the next wire. They land this wire, they click, they land this wire, and they're done. So you're able to, see here the progress. And even as a, let's say, as let's say a supervisor has a monitoring tool that also allows them to see progress. So for example, this is the project that we're working on, 177 wires, 3 of them in progress, and you can see that the installation has been started. So as a plant manager or supervisor, I can see all the panels, all the projects that are in process, and see the progress. And if I want to drill in even more, see, for example, what the details are, here's the project name, here's the person that is working on the project, here is the processing time, how much material has been consumed. So you have a good understanding of where this project is currently at in the state. So that's just one of the examples of utilizing the data that we've been working on in this project, that these engineers, these companies, they have the information, and it can help support, this information can help support many different areas of the business. So speaking of the wires, for example, okay, so the users would just go into the function of the software to route the wires, and EPLAN, again, based on the shortest distance, the wire is routed up or going up to the nearest wire duct, and then going into the device. Now I know that the wire duct is a little bit far away from the DIN rail in this particular case, but here you can see that there are wires also going from the from the devices here, or maybe going over to going to the disconnect or going to the power supply. And so those wires are automatically being calculated as well. So if I go to the properties, I can see the information specifically for this wire, the color, the size, and also the length in inches in this case. Now we have some of the pages. We have some of the pages created, right? We generated the bill of material. We have we have the list of the bill of material, but what if there was additional documentation that we wanted to generate? So the users, in having a standard project template or a standards in place to one, utilize the technology that's available, having circuits that are readily available for this, almost like this idea of putting together Legos. You have these different shapes, and they may do different things. When you put the Lego together, you might have the this, for example, you go to Disney World, and they've got the big dinosaurs in the water, of all those Legos that came together that put that piece together. The EPLAN is exactly the same way. That think of that, the amount of time, the amount of Legos that were used in order to put that together. EPLAN can be that big. The largest project ever created in EPLAN was 27,000 pages. And if you can imagine managing 27,000 pages, you have to have some sort of structure in place in order to do that. I was involved with a company in Kentucky. It was a steel company, and they came to us because they had a new plant going up, and they were getting documentation in a PDF, and their documentation was actually EPLAN, and what they were asking the supplier for was all the DWG files. And the supplier said, no, we designed this, we did this in EPLAN. You can have the EPLAN project, and then you can create the DWGs if you want, but we're not going to export to DWG. We provided you with the PDF. So they were struggling with with reading the PDF and all of that. So what they did is they went ahead and they went with EPLAN. Their project was 15,000 pages. And so we went through the process with them of really understanding how that project is to, be read through. And so this is a relatively small project, but the idea, it can be that big, utilizing these types of of objects that can be used as building blocks to very quickly create your documentation. And now it's just a matter of, I need reports. So here I just tell the system, I want to generate my project reports. At the moment, we only have the pages that you're seeing here. Let's go ahead and let the system automatically generate all the rest of the documentation. So here, in just a couple of seconds, we now have a list of devices. So each device tag, their part numbers. So for example, the main get disconnect. These are all the part numbers that are associated with that disconnect. Here's the description. Here's the manufacturers. So this is an individual list of all of the devices in the project. There's also a terminal overview report. So here you can see that we have that terminal strip, TB1. There's 8 total terminals. 2 of them were grounds. You can also see where the terminal diagram page is. So I could click right here and go right to the terminal itself. And also there is a terminal diagram that shows the individual terminals. Here you can see their source and their target information. And here there's also a wire number. But you know what? We didn't necessarily do anything with the wires, if you remember. Right? We didn't do anything with the wires. Okay, we generated our reports. Maybe it's time we also tell the system to generate all of our wires. So now, not only are the X's turning into actual wire numbers, but we have a set scheme that we're going to use. Okay. I'll go ahead and say, you know what? I don't like this scheme. This is not the scheme that I want for this customer. This is more of a counter type. Maybe for this customer wants me to use a different standard. So in this case here, I'll just go in and say that I want I want my connections. Let's just bring that down. I want my connections here to be the row number, and also there is going to be a counter. We're not going to suppress the first sub counter, and we will also, it looks like they're going to overwrite the terminal designation. So instead of the terminals being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're going to overwrite and use the terminal number as the wire number as the terminal. So let's go ahead and see what the result is. Okay, so now we have a counter before. We'll go ahead and we'll accept this. So you can see that the terminal designation was also overwritten by the wire number. It's completely up to you. Again, that was just a checkbox. I could keep it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It didn't really matter. So now going back to that terminal diagram. Okay, Just a matter then the users can update reports whenever they want. Now their terminal numbers are defined. Here the wire numbers are defined. Source and target devices are defined. They can go back into the electrical schematics from here as well if they want to. Other reports are going to be like the cable reports as well. So there's a cable overview, how many cables are in the project, their source and target, how many conductors, and then also the cable diagram. So here, nice graphical image of the cables, knowing what the location is, source, target, the all the data that's needed for this cable. You can also have length information if you want to have length for the cable as well. Okay. Trying to think if there was anything else. I mean, at this point here, we have, again, the documentation is very important, and just taking a quick minute to look back at at the information that we were talking about here, and again, having the platform, one common data model to support the EPLAN project, and all of the products, pre-planning for PNIDs, fluid, electric P8, ProPanel, that all works and links together. They all work in the same harness. They all work in the same environment, creating that project in the same environment. The data that you are creating inside this project can go and help support the software engineering side. For example, exporting PLC data, inputs and output data out to the software programmers, connecting to an ERP system, and then being able to send that EPLAN bill of material directly to your ERP system, or maybe even working within a vault system and checking in and checking out of the project can also be incorporated, so we can connect. Again, this is just another example of connecting to other third-party products. Mechanical engineering, importing step files, exporting the step. You can utilize that functionality within your project environment as well. We've talked about the cloud. We didn't necessarily talk too much about what the opportunities are for collaboration. The data portal gives you the opportunity, it gives that user the opportunity to capture and download part information. But what if the project needed to be checked by a customer, needed to be sent to another colleague for review? Traditionally, we would probably take that project, if we were having to send it to our customer, we would maybe identify the drawing, zip it up, send an email, attach it to our email and send it to our customer, having to verify, okay, is it the appropriate size? And then you get a bounce back that it didn't make it because the email was rejected. Through cloud solutions, for example, in eView, we also have a product, or an opportunity, not necessarily a product, but a feature of EPLAN called eManage. And that was, again, part of the EPLAN.com environment. And so previously, we talked about the data portal, how we can utilize the 1.3 million parts to our advantage. But now, how can the users, how can the companies, even yourselves, how can you collaborate on projects through eManage and also eView? You can upload the project to eView, for example, and give your customer, or somebody else within your organization, access to the project. So in this case, this is my organization, and I've been given access to these different projects. So the bubbles are indicating that maybe there was a markup. Okay, so if I go into this, I look at this project, I can see that there's a bubble here. It's letting me know that there was there was a markup that was made in this particular project. Here, this one, there's some other ones here with multiple. Here's one with 3. Okay, there were 3 markups. I could see some information about this project, what the job number is. These are just some sample stuff, but I can also see here who it was shared with, or if I want to share it with somebody, then I can go ahead and share this either outside of my organization or inside my organization and give access to view or whatever it may be. But if I want to see this project, probably have, say, for example, this one. Remember the panel and SmartWire that we were looking at earlier? This is the same project. So if I want to open this project, now me as a user, I can, as a customer, I can go through and see some of the documentation for this particular project. So here's a page for 24-volt power. So here I can see some of the documentation. If there's the device, for example, this device right here, I want to go ahead and if I click on it, I can see some of the details of this device, what the device tag is. It's power supply 102. Some additional information, where it is in the 3D model. So if I want to click on the 3D model, then I can go ahead and see where this is located in the 3D model. And then also I have access to the part number as well. So if I need to know more about this particular part, maybe I need to, I need to order a new part, but I'm not quite sure, what the part number was. Traditionally, what we might do is we might, as a electrician that's troubleshooting, I might have to go to the, look in the schematics, and then I see the device, and then I have to go to the bill of material and try to figure out which part number did they, was here, and and so there might be a disconnect there. Well, in EPLAN, in eView and in the documentation, everything is integrated together. So here I can see in the 3D model where this part is actually located, and then I can also see what the part number is. If I need to do anything additional with this part, if I need to order a new one, I can go ahead. Now I have the part number. I can go to the store and I can order this. I can identify if I have this part in stock. And there could also be some incorporation, some things that you can see if there's even a stock, or you can have a part, or sorry, you can have a property defined for spare part, or if there's an auxiliary different part. So if this part's not available, what is the next, what part should I, or could I use instead? In this case, you can also make markups so the users can redline, create, maybe incorporate, let's say, for example, here, they say, you know what, we need to delete this, this object here. So we just go to the description. Oops. We just go to the description of the red line, and we say we want to delete this power supply. So this is the customer. I'm the customer that is making this, making notes, or maybe I'm the checker. I'm a checker, the engineer, and I'm marking this up, and I'm saying, no, we don't need this. Could be as simple as a box, or it could be just a line to go through. Maybe I do something like this, and I say that I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this object, and I'm going to save it. Okay, and now there's also some history. Who was the last modifier? Who created this? So that's where you know who did what. Okay, and now as the engineer, or sorry, the designer, then I can open up this project inside of EPLAN, and I'll see all the marked up information. So having even further further collaboration or more enhanced collaboration within the project environment is very important. I just want to touch, just so that everybody is understanding what are these other products, the pre-planning, what is